What's going to get you on one another?
Well, sounds like you guys are practicing, and
No kidding.
I mean, right from Wednesday morning. Here's the first practice. It's the driving practice, right?
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
I don't mind the drive back. It seems like it goes faster on the way back.
Yeah, it's not rush hour.
So we're gonna do a little walk to begin, and then we're going to do some mindful movement and then a sitting practice. So if you want to grab some stuff for the sitting practice, you can. I have it nearby. I think we might do that, and then yeah, just kind of know what's going on this morning.
Where will we walk? Inside?
We're gonna walk on our mats.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Or just off the mat if you want to, but we're not. It's not. It's going to be a pretty short runway. Yeah.
And then we have the 20th. So what's next week? So I can find a schedule.
Yeah. So we'll meet Wednesday of next week.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we will meet the 20th,
Which is right after.
which is that Sunday after that. Wednesday.
Okay.
So class 5, and 1 class 6, and then the,
When?
the retreat on the 20th, and then 7 and 8.
And then right afterwards. So we kind of go Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't
Yeah.
know if it was-
Yep. Yep.
And then where is the retreat right here?
No, it's all site.
Okay.
And so I have some material about that. That we'll pass out in the class.
Cool.
Yeah, 2 or 3 people have said that they aren't able to make it. I'm expecting a couple more people to begin, but we can start. Hey, Shell. Good morning. Some of us are talking about our morning practice. It's the driving meditation.
Maybe not.
Yeah, the commentary.
It's not a good
on
one.
that.
Yes, I know.
What are you doing? Why are you cutting me off?
Scott, where did you say we could get nice more hot water?
Yeah.
Is
So
it downstairs? Or is it one of
good
those?
morning. It's so center point. So like we're walking down the hall and then turn left, and you'll see the center point door.
Okay.
And then you're coming inside, and it's just around the corner. There's some hot water, there's some tea, there's some cold water. It's out of a kind of a purifier. So,
Okay.
so we'll begin standing on our mats. We're going to start with a walking meditation. We're just going to walk on our mats. We're going to go to some mindful movement, and then a sitting practice. So if you want to grab a cushion or anything like that, you can. Chairs nearby. So I'm noticing that the song "Get Me to the Church on Time" is ringing in my head.
That's like a meditation.
Maybe that's the earworm. Didn't need to pass on, but so maybe let's just all sing it. Ready? Get me to the church on time. Okay, so let's maybe shake it out a little bit, stretch it out. And we'll just begin. Just in mountain pose, just kind of, just feet underneath our hips, slight bend of the knee, little pelvic tilt. And we're just kind of being aware of sensations of the breath, coming into and out of the belly, perhaps. Just maybe expanding that belly a little bit. Open it up, kind of let it just hang out there. And maybe long, slow, complete exhale for a couple breaths as well. Awareness of the breath this morning. And we'll begin with a walking meditation on the mats. blankets or just off to the side, whatever makes sense. It's just a pretty short runway. And when you're ready, we'll just begin with walking meditation. We'll now be moving to mindful movement, beginning on the floor on our backs. Just noticing perhaps all the movements it takes to allow the body to be on its back side or side or in a chair. Again, whatever makes sense for your body, paying attention to its needs this morning. Tending to the body. And if it makes sense, maybe just noticing sensations of the body as it's lying against the floor, maybe noticing or describing or noting the contact points. Continue to rest your attention in the contact points. Or if it makes sense, maybe just allowing the waves of the body to go up and down as you're breathing. On the in-breath, noticing the belly rise. Perhaps the chest rise, sides expand, and then fall. Checking in on the body and softening those parts that can be softened. Even in this pose with an exhale, we can extend or check in, allow a softening. And when it makes sense, bringing maybe the right knee towards the sky, followed by the left. And begin with a little pelvic tilt. So just pressing the small of the back to the floor. And releasing. Perhaps on an in-breath, and on an exhale, pressing it back down. And releasing, just going back and forth. Just timing it with your own breath cycle. And just attending to just the movement and sensations of the body that allow this movement to occur. So maybe noticing the activation of certain muscles to allow this movement to occur. Activation, deactivation. And when you're ready, just pausing for a breath cycle. Noticing the body now. Perhaps the hands come up, grab the top of the kneecaps, and we'll do some circles. Just
Moving the knees around in a circle, clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever makes sense for you. And noticing sensations of the lower back. And perhaps allowing the left foot to drop to the floor. Hands come below the kneecap on the right shin. And when you're ready, bringing that right leg into the chest on an exhale. And releasing just a bit on the inhale. So just rocking this right leg back and forth. Hands just below the kneecap on the shin. Just rocking back and forth, timing it to your breath. Just noticing sensations. Pressure maybe on the shin. Sensations maybe of the knee or the hip, thigh. And releasing the hands. And right foot comes to the floor, bringing that left knee towards the chest, hands on the left shin. Right below the kneecap, and on an exhale, bring that leg closer to the chest. And again, releasing a bit on the head breath, and just rocking the left leg back and forth. Maybe experimenting with pace. And dropping the hands to the belly and chest, left foot to the floor. And just pausing for a couple breath cycles, just noticing the rising and falling of the belly and the chest, just normal breathing. Now walking the feet away from one another. Maybe they come off the mat or just alongside the mat. And gently bringing the knees towards one another. Again, not going past the point that's right for your knees, your body. And you bring the feet in a bit, just allowing them to come in towards one another a bit. Walking them back and towards about hip width apart. And bringing both knees to the chest, hands on the shins, and bringing both legs, both knees in towards the chest. On the exhale, releasing a bit on the in-breath. Rocking both legs back and forth. Maybe experimenting with different, the width between the knees, maybe bringing them closer together or further apart. Noticing the different sensations as you're doing this. And continuing with this movement, or you can bring the feet up towards the sky, and maybe the hands grab the bottom of the feet. Outside or inside. Just maybe walking back and forth a little bit. Sensations. Legs are bent. Feet in the sky. Fingers on the bottom of the feet. And when it makes sense, noticing the release of the hands. Feet come in contact with the floor. Arms alongside the body, perhaps palms up to the sky. Lengthening one leg at a time, just resting for a couple breath cycles in corpse pose. Scanning the body, noticing sensations. Perhaps softening those areas that can be softened. When you're ready, one knee followed by the other coming up towards the sky. And close to the buttocks, perhaps. We'll do a little bridge, so we're pressing the lower back into the floor slowly, if this makes sense for your body, bringing the hips up towards the sky. And pausing for a breath cycle, just noticing the sensations, all the muscles employed. Allow the hips come off the floor. And then slowly bringing it back down. Vertebrae by vertebrae, we notice the back coming back in contact. Perhaps deactivation of the muscles, and just pausing here for a breath cycle. If this doesn't make sense for your body, just imagine the pose. And when you're ready, one more time, slowly bringing the hips up towards the sky. Allowing a breath cycle. And when you're ready, slowly coming back towards the floor. And pausing for a breath cycle. Let's bring our knees slightly towards our chest, hands on top of our knees. And we're going to slowly, gently allow the legs fall over to our right side. So right leg comes in contact with the floor, left leg stacked on top of the right knees bent. Arms go off into a T. Yeah, if it makes sense, maybe gazing at the left hand for you. Notice the sensations of the body. Perhaps extending the stretch a little bit on the exhale. Which can be done by just softening the body in some way. So let's bring that left hand and arm all the way over, across the body. Rest on our right side. Just resting on the right side. Right arm or hand can come underneath the head just to provide a little pillow. Allowing the breath to come into and out of the belly. And softening on an exhale. And attending to sensations of the body now in this position. And we're going to keep the legs stacked on one another. We're slowly going to just hinge our left knee up towards the sky. So just slowly bringing it up. And make your feet are in contact with each other. Just noticing the knee might not go all the way up. It's just going to maybe go up halfway up, or whatever makes sense for your body. Just noticing sensations of the body, of the leg now. When it makes sense, slowly, maybe over a couple breath cycles, slowly bringing that left leg back towards the right leg. At some point, noticing the sensation of contact. The sensation of just softening that left hip and left leg. Soften. There's parts of the body can be softened perhaps on an exhale. And when you're ready, perhaps we'll push with our left hand over, we'll roll back on our back. Left hand on the left knee helps bring it up towards the sky. Right hand on the right knee helps bring it up towards the sky. And we're going to just fall right on over to the left side. So left foot, leg will come in ventral contact with the floor. And there's this contact. And then right leg stacked on top of the left. And bringing our arms off into a T. And maybe gazing at the right hand, if that makes sense for your body. On an exhale, perhaps just softening the body. That may extend the stretch, not going past the edge for your body. And when you're ready, slowly just noticing that right hand come up off the floor. The right arm comes up, just noticing sensations, perhaps of the weight of the hand. It comes up to the sky. There's some neutrality in the back, long, down on top of the body, or right hand greets the floor, left hand or left arm underneath the head. We're going to rest on our left side. Attending to the sensations of the body now. As we maybe exhale and soften, maybe this extends the stretch again, even here. And we bring our feet in contact with one another. And slowly bringing that right knee up off the left leg towards the sky. Maybe it doesn't go all the way up into the sky. Maybe it just goes up 3/4 or a half, whatever makes sense. But we're just noticing sensations in the right leg, softening muscles of the face. And when you're ready, slowly over a couple breath cycles, you bring that right knee back towards the floor. Noticing all the little sensations, the micro movements that occur in the muscles, just to allow this movement to occur. At some point we notice contact with the left leg and the softening that occurs as we release all the activation in the right leg and right hip. Noticing sensations of the body now. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly just move to our belly. So maybe extending the legs or waving the right hand and bringing the torso off, maybe off the floor a little bit. So we're just positioning and scooting ourselves on our mat, coming to the floor, our front side, and hands up towards the face, and just resting one side of the head on the hand. Noticing sensations of the body as it rests with its front side on the floor. And then breath head comes up off the floor. And we just notice it rotating on the opposite sides and just let it fall back towards the hands, noticing contact with the face on the hands again, and just softening those parts of the body that can be softened. Noticing sensations now. And when you're ready, head up off the floor. Maybe nose facing the floor, extending our right arm and maybe even the left arm. So we're kind of doing a little Superman, Superwoman pose. And now just lifting a little bit, our right hand off the ground and our left leg a little bit off the ground. So the left leg, arm, right leg on the floor, the right arm, left leg slightly off the ground, along with the head. See the activation it takes for this to occur. And then releasing, right arm, left leg coming to the floor, pausing for the breath cycle. And if it makes sense for your body, left arm slightly coming off the ground and right leg. It doesn't come off the ground, just allowing maybe just a little bit of it come off. Maybe just it's the fingers or the toes. Noticing sensations of the body now. And releasing that left arm, right leg. Walking our hands up towards our shoulder. And if it makes sense, perhaps we bring our chest off the floor, slowly bringing the chest off the floor. We're eventually going to get to our hands and knees in tabletop. So you can turn to your side, whatever makes sense for your body. But we're going to come into tabletop. And when it makes sense for you, just beginning a little cat. On an exhale, and cow, on an in breath. Just going at your own pace, just noticing sensations of the body. Maybe just experimenting with a different pace as well, different breaths. And when you're ready, perhaps bringing the hips towards the feet, resting in child's pose. If it doesn't make sense for your knees, the hips can remain the same. We just bring perhaps our forearms to the ground. Maybe forehead to the ground, just whatever makes sense for your body. So. Just noticing the sensations now. If the hips aren't up already, let's go ahead and tuck our toes. So we're bringing our toes to the floor, and slowly we're pushing our whole body up. So we might come to a kneeling position if that makes sense, or slowly hanging in ragdoll a little bit, and then eventually going up to mountain. So over a number of breath cycles, just you can either kneel a bit or do a little ragdoll. So eventually, slowly at your own pace, we'll be standing a mountain.
And pausing in mountain, just noticing sensations of the body now, in upright position. On your next exhale, right ear to the right shoulder. And head up on an inhale, left ear, left shoulder. On your next exhale, and just going back and forth at your own pace. If you want to just pause for a breath cycle, notice the stretch, you're welcome to do that as well. So just noticing movement of the head and neck. And sensations created from that movement. Or pause. And when you're ready, just pausing in mountain for a breath cycle or two. Softening those parts of the body that can be softened. We're going to do a little backstroke. So on your next inhale, bringing the right arm forward and up. And it falls on an exhale, fine. On an inhale, left arm forward and up. And falls back behind and down on an exhale. So just alternating your arms, alternating the stroke with your breath for a couple cycles. There's some sensations of shoulders, neck, and maybe just notice sensations of the arm moving through space. And when you're ready, pausing in mountain. Perhaps softening the body on an exhale. Noticing sensations of the body now. Moving our weight to our heels, toes off the floor. Moving the weight to our left parts of our feet. Weighting our toes, maybe heels come off the floor. Moving to the right side of the feet. Heels. Left side. Toes. And right side. And centering. And mountain. Weighting our left foot, arms off into a T. And we're just going to walk our right foot away from our body, slight bend of the left knee, and maybe the toes are just touching the floor. If it makes sense for your body, maybe the the toes come off the floor just a bit. Noticing all the micro movements, or balancing. At some point, the right foot comes maybe underneath that right hip, arms come down, and pausing the mountain. Noticing the sensations now present in the body. Weighting our right foot, slight bend of the right knee, walking left foot away, arms off into a T, and maybe just the toes touching the ground and just pausing here. If that makes sense, maybe the toes come off the ground. And when it makes sense, left foot comes to the floor, feeling those sensations and dropping the arms alongside. Pausing the mountain. Maybe softening the body on an exhale. Noticing sensations of the body now. We will now be moving to a sitting practice, sitting meditation. Notice the body making almost without thought the little adjustments to support this intention and body position. Perhaps just attending to sensations of the body now, maybe specifically those in contact with the floor, or a mat, or a chair, or a cushion. Just noticing these contact points. Maybe with an exhale or two, just softening the body now in this position as we begin a sitting practice, sitting meditation. Perhaps we can begin with just the attention to sound. attending to just sounds, our sense of sound. Sounds of traffic or parts of the HVAC system. Sounds from maybe the building at times. It comes and goes, just noticing it come and go. Some sounds might remain constant. You might note the direction of where the sound comes from. Might put a word to the sound, traffic. You might notice, thoughts around the sound. How the mind can be curious and start creating some stories. And we can note that when we notice it. The story. This moment of awareness. Even attending to that. I'm present, I have noticed, I'm aware. And then another thought goes off, or we notice another sound. The practice is about just noticing when we notice that we're off into thought. My mind was traveling. I was on a train of thought. Just attending, anchoring our attention back to sound. We might move our attention to body sensations. At some point, the sound might greet us. We can notice that, just note that. And we're just attending to or practicing. Attending to sensations of the body. The mind can kind of shift back and forth sometimes, not only into thought, but just kind of noticing and directing your attention to different parts of the body, noticing the absence of sensations. At the same time, there might be something that greets the mind of sensation, reach a certain level of attention. It's just like some numbness in the hands, and that can be noticed. Just rest your attention there. The mind will wander off, of course, again and again, just noticing this. Noticing that it's noticed, this moment of awareness. And it may be only for a moment. And then just bringing this sense of curiosity and sensations of the body present now. And now we might shift our attention to noticing feelings. Certainly there can be a range, maybe a category of pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. In a word describing the feeling, or maybe it's more fleeting and just maybe it's just kind of a no to a certain affect, or maybe it's just kind of an absence. It's more neutral, just kind of just noticing the arrival or departure or absence of feelings. And now attending to the breath. Noticing where the breath is experienced, the sensation. It might even be noted just in the mind. In. And sensations as it goes out, out. One might only notice like even a half a breath cycle before the mind wanders off into thought. At some point this is noticed, and this can be noted. Awareness of the mind traveling. The attention can be held there even for a moment. Just noticing that I'm noticing. Then I return back to this moment. At some point, maybe just noticing the body, the thoughts and feelings can create some activation in the body, maybe allowing a softening on an exhale. And attending to sensations of the breath. As we're practicing, we're just practicing noticing that, there I've gone again. In a figurative sense, just holding your heart. And it's with kindness that we know that the mind wanders off. And we just notice, Ah, here I am again. The pattern can be a little bit of just judgment about ourselves, or are we doing it right, or can we beat up ourselves. Again, we're not beating the puppy. We're just like, here we are. Arrived again. Noticing this arrival, and for now, just attending to sensations of the breath. We've been attending to sensations of the breath. We attended to feelings, body sensations, sounds. All of these can greet us, maybe even more, smells at times. Other senses can bring us data. For now, just practicing just a choiceless awareness. We're not just necessarily going to anchor our attention anywhere. Just kind of just noticing. Maybe where the mind goes, or we'll notice sound at some point, or maybe notice a body sensation. We're not necessarily going to anchor our attention anywhere, just kind of a choiceless awareness. Again, choiceless in that we're not anchoring ourselves in any particular place, just allowing it all. In this choiceless awareness, maybe we notice things come and go. There can be a lot of fluidity. And you might notice pleasant and some attachment, or unpleasant and some resistance. Just practicing being with it all, allowing it all, noticing. And now a reading entitled Almost There, Here. Almost there, here. My first half of life, busy with almost getting there, done or enough. Chasing there as if it's a place to be, a place where I'll find me. And then a shift, a second look. What if I drop the almost there? It's right here. I'm still moving, yet the view is with the eyes that see that the there is here, no longer the victim of that moving finish line. I've been standing on the line, always. I didn't know. I've dropped the almost. Now, there I am, here. Tending to the body, noticing those parts that maybe need movement or a stretch or a massage. In a moment, I'll be walking around and offering a piece of paper and a pen and a bit of a clipboard. Perhaps in silence, we can just write down. There's some wondering, some questions on the piece of paper, and it's a time just now to reflect. This is class 5. We've completed 4 weeks, so it's just kind of a check-in. This will not be something that you'll be sharing with others in the group, but I will be reading and returning back to you. So we're just kind of checking in. So if it makes sense, you're welcome to fill it out here, and then just return it back to me here. Eventually, we'll be moving to the circle of chairs. When you're done, just go, or you can move to the circle of chairs to fill this out if you need a table or a chair. But when you're done, bring it back here, and then maybe just one-on-one or in small groups, you can just kind of check in with one another in the circle of chairs until everybody's finished. When everybody's finished, and we'll all gather at the circle of chairs. Is that making sense? So I'll be handing out this, and we'll just do just a little bit of writing, and when you're done, returning it, and checking in with a peer or two, and then circle of chairs. Let me know if the pen's not working. You're welcome to keep the magazine if you want it, but maybe we can hold off from reading it for a little bit.
I guess I could return this too.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
I should stop saying that. The 16-year-old is the one in my life. He lets everybody in the class do just at least he's just and I'm such a scenario. And it's just like this. And that's kind of I just what I want. I want you to be excellent. I want you. I want a relationship. I want I want to be done. That's it.
Well said.
Yeah. I'm walking along. Yeah. I'm a lot. That is wrong. Yeah. That's right. Okay. I don't know. Oh, I'm.
Maybe we can,
Well, we really close to
Just maybe take a pause and just notice Notice, right? Sights, maybe the sounds, sensations in the chair. Maybe how just the conversation brought some thoughts or feelings, and just noting this. And in this awareness, it brings some options. Maybe it's just a longer exhale or a softening of the body. Just transitioning a little bit here, just to class 5. It's good. It's good to be with you. Good to practice, and this is a time that we can kind of maybe just kind of check in, not only with a little bit of the walking practice and the movement and some sitting today. We can maybe review the last week as well, whatever might be on your mind. So, noticing observations.
The walking felt like walking on a tightrope, so it was a bit, kind of falling off the tightrope because of my balance issues. So it was a bit frustrating and felt kind of vulnerable, like just, disruptive, and it was hard to get that back on track, feeling myself throughout the class.
Vulnerable.
What's that?
I'm hearing words of the feelings of vulnerable, trapped, or no, I didn't hear that. Vulnerable.
No. The type of
Tightrope.
of frustration that's
Yes.
worse than I had thought. Just walk in a straight line slowly. Well, yeah, that was frustrating. And then I found my balance, and I was like, okay, that's good. I kind of fell out of that, but it's just a general feeling of feeling like I could be getting in someone's path of side and breaking their concentration, or just judging.
Yeah, all the thoughts that come in our head, the balancing, the feelings, the body sensations, they're really literally being unbalanced, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of says it in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah. And so, being with it all.
Uh-huh. Right.
Yeah. As a practice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We can be with it again. We experienced it one time already, and then describing it with it again in some ways. It's different, maybe. We can kind of come back and greet us again. Maybe the affect's a little different. Yeah.
But realizing I have some things to work through, I guess, as far as the judgment of it, or just kind of allowing myself to, like, okay, it's not a good time, kind of break off or think about that. So,
Okay, there I am in worried mind or concerned mind.
yeah, or just saying, okay, this is not the way for me to be mindful about my movement. It's better if I'm just waiting and living more quickly. issues, it's just not right for me. So to kind of allow myself to back off on that, which is maybe a broader feeling of, oh, that can happen at different times in different ways, and to be aware of that, which is kind of interesting.
Okay. So for you, there was that affect around the walking. There was experience around that. There might have been that for others in the movement or in the sitting. So we're practicing just trying to be with it all, the pleasant and the unpleasant. And here it comes. We watch the stories, which are the thoughts, and maybe the feelings, the body sensations that may be created as we're literally moving. Yeah. And kind of the reactivity cycle. And the wanting or desiring to be different, or that it should be this way.
Right. And I can see how it could be opposite. So that's like a gift for other people to be watching that, like watching someone on a trapeze. It's like, well, I can't do that, but isn't that cool? You know. And that's.
Well, don't we watch a lot of people and say, isn't that cool? Or not cool.
Yeah.
And there's some reactivity that can be pleasant and unpleasant.
I found I don't know that I was any better at it this week with my mind. It just likes to talk a lot to me. But I did, like, it was more this time accepting of it. I just wasn't so negative as I knew. Like, oh my God, I'm doing this wrong. And I feel like in life, I'm more like, or this week at least, I don't know. It's a good place to be at, where I'm just sort of more accepting. In a good, I mean, in a good way. Like, you know, I want my son to be a certain way. I want him to be more friendly, and he's not. So, I'm not going to be his best friend, right? And I really wanted that. And I think I finally just came to terms with, you know, he's a 16-year-old, and everyone whose last name is a Button, he's a really great friend too. And I mean, so I don't know. It was sort of like reflective of that. So I guess it was good, but my mind's still going.
Thanks, Paige. Yeah, of course the mind's going, right? You know, and this is the fourth week. I think this can be, this is not easy. And we read it again with the patterns and the thoughts. And if I'm picking up what you're putting down, Paige, is like, I'm noticing the pattern. And there's a little bit in noticing that might be enough. I'm hearing that some of there might be some allowing going on.
I think I always, like I hear in other people, I want to do it right. I want to do it right. It has to be, instead of just coming up with what that is, it's just accepting. You know? So I feel like that's part of it.
So part of the fourth week is that it can be, I'm not sure, but all right, I've been doing this for a while. I'm looking for these expectations, you know. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. It's like a glimpse, and then like, oh, I'm there.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I don't want to be here. I want to be there.
I really like that reading.
Yeah.
As you said, I think the fourth week has been like, I don't know, not a turning point, but I'm like pausing. And I just told my myself that I'm there. I don't have to do more.
Yeah.
I don't have to be perfect.
It is called a practice.
It's like, you know, as I've described, sometimes I'm in the closet so much with the patterns I don't even notice them. And so the there to here, if I drop the T, you know, how do I do that? It's really not easy, or I didn't, you know, I'm still practicing. And, I'm still wanting to be there, and yet just how long am I going to be attached to that? Again, you know, just not being too binary about this. There's intentions, there's ideas, and there's creativity. But I think there's something, sometimes there's certain affect that comes and greets me, and it feels heavy or intense, or it's that back to that, this reactivity that are going on. And if my body's telling me that, and my body's sensations, or I notice the feeling or the thoughts, or kind of some ideas like, okay, these are some things that are informing me, or can inform me. And then when I just notice that, that's kind of the practice, like, oh my, you're here, here. Oh, I'm just aware I'm here. And we've also practiced that when we come here, we're like, some of us, I'm not sure, this is maybe more about me, where was I? How come I keep doing this? And why, you know, we go into this secondary experience about and reactivity around noticing where we weren't, as if there was a place to be, to find me, right? So we're kind of like just noticing that pattern. It's like, oh, it's all, well, just the here is maybe just when we notice the here, just allowing that for a moment. Ah, here. Ah, ah.
I'm instantly reactive to drivers that I think are reckless instantly. And I drive alone pretty much all the time, and out of my mouth fly these comments out there. And I used to stay with me. I'd be so upset with how could they drive like blah blah blah, the story, and I'd be tight and but now I catch it and I can laugh at myself and relax and think, yeah, that was stupid. But, you know, I'm okay. It's okay. And it could laugh at me because of how that instantly affects me. And it's a habit. And it's a big one. But I can laugh at it now. It doesn't take me over for the rest of the day.
So we had the reactivity calendar. So we've been playing around this idea of pleasant, unpleasant. What's that? How do we be with both those? Maybe neutral, but the reactivity, just like, okay, we're going to have the pleasant and unpleasant. It's all going to be coming around. It comes and it goes. Is there a place when the dropping in is, again, just being, oh, now I'm aware in some ways. Of it all, and however it's described or noted. So we've been doing the calendars, we've been doing the mindful movement last time. I am curious about the time and the place and the partnership and how that's going, because it just can get difficult. I just want to put words to that. Yeah.
I was just saying that it's something on my to-do list every day.
Yeah.
When I stop and think about it, that seems wrong because I don't put my other like really important rituals like having coffee in the morning to-do list. It just happens. I do it. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And having this on the to-do list and then thinking about when am I going to have that 45 minutes, it becomes something that can cause some reactivity or cause some stress. Thinking about, oh, am I going to have time to put that in before I go pick up my daughter? And then when am I going to do it? Because I have, and then it just becomes this kind of negative spiral. And I'm wondering if I should not put it on my to-do list. That would feel better, because then when it doesn't get checked, I wouldn't feel as guilty about it as, because I kind of live by my to-do list. I don't know, just something that I've been thinking about a lot this week.
A lot there, Shelley. Thank you. One thing that I pull, I don't know where you're pulling from, is that it's on the to-do list and it doesn't get checked off. Yeah. And so I might want to vacuum my car.
That's a Sunday activity.
Which I never vacuum my car. If for somehow they get on the to-do list. So
I often think like my to-do list, which I have, but usually what happens is I have this is Monday's to-do list, and then I take what didn't get done, put it on Tuesday, keep adding. It becomes a triage list rather than a to-do list. So I have noticed that too. That we were commenting, Paige and myself, that we have this feeling like we know it's so great when we do it, and we want to do it, and but why do we resist it? It's very, but it's, you know, it's like it's just constantly triage, and I don't know if it's like a female thing or whatever, but you know, you put things that are really good for you, and in turn good for everyone, last, and so I can choose. Yes. So that is a struggle.
and we can be kind of reactionary about just when that greets us, right? That's the unwanted visitor, and it knocks on the door, and you look at the list, and it's that balance that, you know, sometimes, yeah, we want to be aware, and sometimes being aware is not pleasant. And the whole practice is like, well, how do I hold this, or how can I not kind of beat myself up around this?
And maybe that's where you are.
This is where it is.
This is here, right?
Yeah.
Might not be forever, but this is here now.
And I think the common humanity that it is hard to do things for ourselves. I mean, talk about I think a universal pattern.
The other thing I noticed is that it's sort of an all or nothing thing with me. Like the 45, maybe I could have fit in 30 minutes or 15 minutes, but I didn't because I couldn't do the 45 minutes and I wanted to do it right.
I said the same thing.
Yeah. It's the days that I don't fit it in are probably the days that I need it the most.
Awesome.
So very true.
Yeah, I heard that expression, if I don't have time for 45 minutes, I probably need an hour and a half of practice.
Yeah. We used to tell kids, you know, or I know teachers who tell their kids teaching violin, they say, only practice on the days you breathe. Making it sort of saying it's a natural part of your day.
Mm-hmm.
That's good work.
And the all and nothing makes total sense and pretty common. And so maybe something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And that that well, just letting that just show up.
The handout that Scott gave us last week by Dr. Bentler that talked about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems, it was profound for me because it just was describing this class and what MBSR is about. And ultimately, it made it easier for me to practice because I have the time right now. But even beyond that, it really helped me to just relax into letting me allow myself some peace just right now. Even if I can't do that practice or I know whatever is happening, just to realize that I'm shifted into that mode that is stressing my body and can really do some harm. And I'm worth taking a breath, a conscious breath, or just giving myself a hug, just to be kind to me. And then check off that 45 minutes or something because it's worth that. So that's what's helped me.
I kind of was a little freer with on myself, I guess. I mean, I've been practicing yoga for over 20 years. So when I do my yoga or on my own or when I go to a class, so I've been doing a lot of this breathing for years, but this class has really reminded me again the importance of really focusing on that breath, and then so instead of doing like I have followed yours sometimes at night, but at other times like I'll purposely go to a class and I will be focusing on my breath, and I'm really focusing on how my body and which part of my body is, So I kind of, I've allowed myself to kind of make it my own. So I've enjoyed it, but to me that still counts. It's like, well, I'm still counting it, so that counts as my 45. It's like, okay, I've already done this much yoga, so I use the mindful movement, and I walk every morning, and I think about all the five senses. So I've done that and I'm in a different situation now where my life was so crazy for so many years, and then all of a sudden I'm living all by myself, and I'm retired. So all of a sudden I do have time. So this class for me, I feel for you because most of my life I was like, my to-do list never ever got done. It was always like go to the next thing, you just pick you triage it, the most important things. But I did, even through those times, I'd always get up early so I could still get my swim, my walk, and my yoga in, because that's the only way that just gave me always such energy and peace my whole life. I always said I've always solved all my problems while I'm swimming or walking.
And everybody else's too.
Yeah. So maybe I'm cheating, but I found it very beneficial because I've had like refocus. Yeah. And the sitting one I really like because I had really never done that before. I mean, I tried it different times, but I'm actually really enjoying it. And it's amazing to me how all of a sudden I just feel like, oh, it's probably been about 15 minutes and it's pretty cool, and it's like, wow, that was, But the main way I have to do that is I love that 4-7-8 breathing. And that's how I get into it. So when you were talking, Sally, about that article about, the parasympathetic and sympathetic and just that breathing, how it really, that's how I really enjoy it. But I feel for all of you who are still in that crazy, crazy hectic world, because mine's just a little bit more peaceful now. And I recognize that. I'm grateful for it.
Thanks, Patty. Yeah, we're still trying to make it our own. How do I get that time, place, and partnership? Sure, there's 45-minute invitation. and we'll get into all or nothing, and that maybe we put a lot of emphasis, or maybe I'm talking about, I place a lot of emphasis, I want a lot out of that 45 minutes, you know? And so, and if I don't get that, or it's just, and there's some sense of unpleasant, then I really don't, and so I'm trying to let this kind of remind or invite that, you know, the 45 minutes can be unpleasant. But notice, we talked last week about a couple of different ways to be with the unpleasant. And it's the practice of noticing. That's hard to notice, but once we're awake to it, then we have some options that we can take beyond the 45 minutes. The idea is that we do some 45 minutes so we can use it for the rest of our life. It's not like, well, I just did 45 minutes and now I'm done. And I'm not, you know, I can be mindless for the rest of the day, which can happen.
It can happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, you know, we can be mindless in that 45 minutes, but I suppose the idea is that, wow, you know, that was for me, maybe whatever, how we frame it. And I'm just allowing it all, you know, through that. So I saw this demonstrated once, and I might demonstrate this too. It's around kind of the unpleasant. Anybody feeling fit a little bit? Because there's going to be some body movement to this. I might need a volunteer if that's okay. But it's, okay. We're going to be over here. That's right.
Be on
So we're going to demonstrate what unpleasant maybe looks like or feels like, or how. So if I represent unpleasant, okay, you're just doing you, right? And I'm coming towards you. How do you handle what's happening?
What are you doing? Yeah.
So hands are up.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm moving away from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep on your distance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How's this feel? Or
I mean, a little bit, but you know, part of me is already saying, okay, this is just pretend, you know, so I mean, the rational side of this isn't really happening.
It's also buzzing ground. She's going that way.
But to embrace unpleasant is a totally different thing. Because you keep being, what we do, or what I do, is I keep unpleasant at a distance. And you did it. You put, you know, you're protecting yourself and you're keeping it at a distance. We don't embrace unpleasant. You didn't hug him or anything. That's,
See, I would have tried to push her back.
I was
push
So here we go. All right. So, right. Yeah. So there is maybe, you know, I've seen this demonstrated where somebody, you know, just says, well, you know, okay, or we'll get out of the way. I'm probably more of a pushback. I'm going to push up against this.
like freeze.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No one's hit me before.
No one's hit me before.
If somebody turned and they start running the other direction?
It can be happening that way, or a hug. I haven't gotten a hug before, right? But I did notice, and so sometimes, now you'll be the unpleasant, I'll be, but you did this a lot. Okay, you don't come towards me. And so as it's coming, it's just being with it, right? Yeah, it's not like I can get rid of it. It keeps coming, and how do I dance with it? How do I deal with it? Right? So I can get into it. So just maybe a visual sense of a lot of different options that we can get into. And so when that greets us, the unpleasant, you know, am I really putting my hands up and I'm like, all right, you know, here I go, or can I turn them, hold it, dance with it a little bit, wow, hug, in some ways. That's a lot of, that's allowing, that's being with. And at some point, it will, everything to a degree can maybe change flavors while we're doing it or go away. Move on.
This is something I was actually thinking about when we were meditating. And I was afterwards, and I wanted to mention it, and Sue said this time to mention it. Last week when we were talking about being in the river, kind of like, okay. And when you were asking in meditation, what are you feeling? What are the sensations? I'm like, oh, trepidation. And then I got this little memory. It came back when I was a kid. We had a little neighborhood pool, and in the deep end, we would play Jacques Cousteau, who was the famous explorer, and we would submerge ourselves in a pretend capsule and go down in the deep end, and then we'd go out and explore, and then there'd be a shark, and we'd swim back to our little egg. And I kept thinking, I feel like I'm in, and it's okay, this is just where I am. I feel like I'm in the river, but a lot of times I'm bouncing around in an encapsulated egg. And maybe that's good enough for right now, but it's a lot of, it's like not, when you always say, how do you feel, the sensations, that is so hard for me.
Yeah.
I go to that narrative. I mean, I'm just like,
Is that a feeling of just, it's obviously very, like, to me, it's protection. Oh, and that's uncomfortable. That's
In a
uncomfortable.
good way or a bad way? Like people are there for you, protecting you, or you?
Or you have your space, or
I have my space. I feel like it's what I think I need, but I think in the long run, it's not good for me. I just want to bring that up. I think it's just that it was. I'm in the river, but I'm in a plastic egg. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I feel it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and how to be with it, or you'll check in with the sensation. You're not really feeling the body sensation, and that's okay. We can.
And I feel like if I keep doing it, then eventually it will enclose more, and then eventually break, and I'll be ready for it when it does.
and what you're feeling like you'll be more in the river then.
Yes, and I'll be ready to swim out of it.
I see.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. Yeah. Anyway.
I had a does anybody else want to talk? Because I know I took up some time before.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Okay. Well, I had an experience yesterday where I was doing a 15-minute meditation. It made me curious how everybody else experiences it. Like that, I was like, okay, 15 minutes, put the timer on, and then I just feel, I've had this a little bit before, but I just really felt this, the clock was ticking, it was kind of bothering me. And then I just kind of felt this expansion and, just kind of going all through my body and just kind of being everything all at once. Everything was just present all at once. And I would have these thoughts sometimes or like feelings, and it's kind of bother me. And I get back, come back. All of a sudden, I realized, thinking that clock was not ticking loud. I was like, oh, that clock's not ticking loud. It's very soft. It's just different. It was sort of like there was so much else going on. That it was all. And then on the way here, I thought it's kind of like being immersed in music when I was playing in the orchestra. And at times it could be the sensation of physical listening, watching the conductor, watching, feeling, but still thinking up here, turn the page. But if I could get to that, just turn the page rather than, oh darn, why am I up here? it's how to cope with those feelings and those thoughts while meditating and coming back to it without feeling self-critical. But how do I get back to it? Back to it is very positive. I don't know what anybody else experiences meditating. It made me wonder, is that kind of expansion and oneness kind of a feeling?
In the sake of time, I might just summarize it. It's the full rainbow, the full catastrophe, the full, there's I can get you pretty narrow viewed or wider viewed, and so, and a little bit of pickup of just, the commentary that happens while you're in the middle of it. Is that a little bit what you're saying?
Just wondering if anybody else, how people, what their experience is, because it's like this all body kind of sensation, not thinking I'm thinking about my feet, it's sort of, there's just oneness with that, and just sort of expansion, but also it starts here,
Okay.
or the sound starts here, and then here is the kind of expansion of feeling all of this. And how to deal with, this and being okay with it going there. But I don't know, it's just not a common experience. What is that, like the way other people experience it? That's very, I don't know how to
And so maybe just a raise of hands. I mean, maybe people, have anybody, just say, well, that was a different pattern. I sat and I had a little bit different pattern experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? What is meditation?
And then we'll wonder about that. It can be maybe attached or want it to come again.
Yeah.
So I think that there can be some things that do show up that are outside our normal pattern when we're practicing. And we'll go, whoa, or either pleasant or unpleasant a little bit. And it is not unusual.
It is just sort of a synthesis feeling of everything.
Yeah.
But it's fleeting.
Yeah, but then it stayed around more yesterday. So, oh, that's amazing. Sort of like everything was, like a synthesis of just experience, which was very expansive.
And it makes sense that you want to have a reference point around this and wonder about if other people have had some experiences like this.
Yeah,
And
what is the positive when you say that? Oh, it was a good feeling. What is that for other people? Because I feel that as being a really wonderful thing that I'm trying to go towards, because it's a feeling. But
I don't feel that way.
yeah,
But it's like this moment when I'm just like Oprah, aha, right? I'm just like, oh, it's my aha moment. And I feel like, I get it. I get it all.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
but it's,
Like swimming, maybe.
it's okay. Yeah. For me, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll have our normal pleasant and unpleasant that shows up, and then there'll be times where like pleasant, unpleasant that's different than the normal pattern, and it can have different affects. And it can look or feel differently, and so it just that can show up too.
I guess there's no way of knowing what anybody else really experiences. Maybe that's the overriding.
But whatever it is, in the times that this kind of practices have been done, others have had these experiences.
Whatever they are.
Go ahead.
Can I just say, when I got some Reiki, I felt that energy, that feeling of being so full of positive energy, and you feel so well that you are. And I was amazed because I was kind of skeptical at that time. when my friend who was practicing that was telling me, and then one day she said, "Why don't you come? I have a back pain," and she said, "I know you don't like to take medications. Why don't you allow me to do some Reiki on you?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it," and it was wonderful. So I think each one of us can experience that kind of feeling at different moments or occasions in life. But I get it, what you feel. It's very pleasant.
Yeah.
And I was mindful of it and kind of, oh wow, how did I doubt about that? It does exist.
Well, I think sometimes even in the pleasant, it can cause a reactivity cycle. It's like, well, this is pleasant and this is different, and now we're not, but ooh. And then the reactivity cycle can be after it's all over, which is like, I want to know more or what's happening, and there's maybe an attachment to some things too. So I'm gonna go grab some pieces of paper. Is that okay?
Yeah, I really fresh. Yeah, and when you
Oh, that's, yeah, that's right. There you go.
So the invitations for this week are the sitting meditation. So I haven't necessarily directed.
It's like, oh boy.
God.
So this would be
I
the
could fill out so many of these.
this would be the 4-3-2 video, right? And so that's the sitting meditation. And then the next day a body scan or movement, whatever makes sense for you. Okay, so we're kind of going every other, but we're doing this sitting meditation more consistently. Okay. The challenging communication. Again, these calendars are just, sometimes it's supportive to just pen and paper type thing, just noting. It helps with the noting practice. And it's around communications. So we've been practicing, communications, certainly with ourselves or in this group. And we may be communicating with drivers, we may be communicating with other people, but just noticing that this typically is an activating event. Certainly if it's challenging, there can be pleasant communication too. I suppose that's about it. I did want to hand out a little bit of information. I think we could talk about the retreat. So this is the address. It is off-site. It's a neighborhood clubhouse, and it's up in Carmel, 106th and Meridian. 106th and Keystone. So picture 106th and Keystone. You go right or east. There's Lakeshore Drive West, Lakeshore Drive East, and then you go north a little bit, and then you'll see just a neighborhood clubhouse. We'll be practicing there for the day. We'll talk more about this, but there's just some general information. So you can let this greet you, and when you have questions or something like that, we can kind of talk about it next week at class number 6, and then we'll gather on the Sunday, that 20th.
So it is quietly.
No, it's just kind of like an extended version of what we did today. And so I'll be ringing the bells and inviting the practices, and we take a long lunch break and do some more in the afternoon. Like to get outside too, so hopefully, I don't even know what the weather's supposed to be, but as stated, we'll bring some stuff. So, yeah. Let's just, as we're at that time, just pause. And maybe rest this in this intention that today, until we gather again, we be safe and secure. Our mind and body be at peace and ease as we experience joys and sorrows. May our spirit be filled with loving kindness, and may we know all things are just as they are. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah.